It's Monday, June 22nd, and you're watching the Hammer Daily here on the Hammer Betting Network, presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. I'm your host for today, Jace Cooper, alongside my producer for the next hour and a bit, Mike Bennett, working his way behind the boards, keeping everything nice and smooth. And oh my goodness, do we have a great show for you today. My voice is a little shot. I was at a concert last night. I tried my best to preserve it, but anytime the Strokes are playing live in Toronto, I got to go. And the voice, I tried my best, but the voice is almost gone. But I'm excited to get into today's show. We saw a lot of craziness over the past weekend when it came to some World Cup action. I mean, this Cabo Verde team, one of the sweethearts of the tournament. We saw some crazy ties, some crazy wins, some crazy upsets. We're going to cover all of that with our good friend Gaffa later on in the show at around the halfway mark. Going to cover everything that's happened so far in the group stage, halfway through, or I guess 3/4 of the way through match day number 2. We're going to take a look at that and take a look at the bracket and see how things might shake out. Who has an easy path? Who has a hard path? What teams are getting rewarded for finishing in the second or third spot? That's backwards, but it's happening. I'll be talking about that with Gaffa. But before we do that, we got Alex coming on, and he texted me on Sunday. And he said, I can't say that word yet. I am flipping pissed. I'm flipping pissed. You and I, to lead off the Hammer Daily, are going to talk some NHL because what is happening right now in the NHL is a farce. It's abhorrent. It's disgusting. It's degrading. And it has no part in this game. And I'm talking about Brady Tkachuk forcing his way out of Ottawa onto the Florida Panthers. 3 first-round picks, including 2 this year, the 9th overall pick, the 25th overall pick, 1 pick. I believe it's next year in a second-round pick as well. Big haul. I don't think Alex likes the way that the NHL is going. I don't like the way the NHL is going. These star players forcing their way out. I think it's a little different in basketball because I would argue the star player has a large impact, but if you can't build the team around him, if there's like no assets in sight, like we're seeing with Giannis, right? Like you take a look at the Giannis situation. He tried his best to will this team to a championship. They could not put the pieces around Giannis. They're struggling to put the pieces around Giannis right now. It's like it's a bleak sight for this Bucks team. So it's like, all right, like it's time to move on from Giannis, and that makes sense. But when you look at the Ottawa Senators, what has Brady Tkachuk done for them? They're slowly building the team around him. He sort of pouted his way out the door, going on podcasts, talking smack about his goalies. It's just not, it's a different sport. Hockey is a different sport than basketball. And I understand when some players do it in basketball, force their way out. So maybe some players don't do it the right way. But the way that Brady Tkachuk's gone about it, and now we've seen Dylan Larkin do it. We're hearing Zach Werenski might do it. We saw Quinn Hughes do it. We've seen players force themselves out of teams in multiple situations. So, yeah, sorry. Giannis already wanted to. I just meant where the situation is going right now for the Bucks. I can see why Giannis would want to leave. I agree Brady is a loser. Anyways, it's a little frustrating. I'm sure Alex is going to go a lot deeper on this. I apologize for bearing the lead on him. I just was trying to promote him, and I ended up bearing the lead for him. But it is what it is. I can see he's hungry, chomping at the bit right now in the background, wanting to say something. So we'll bring him on here in just a second. But before we do that, on the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off for the World Cup and your bet goes with them. But you know what? Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player is subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in until the final whistle because in matches like these, anything can happen. And now your bet can go the distance. And I'll just mention an instance where this happened in our Discord. I mentioned some goal scorers. Is it Musiali for Germany? Ended up getting subbed out. I messaged in the Discord, hey, I'm playing this guy. Plus 185. Someone said, well, wait, there's a plus 200 out there. Why are you playing at such a bad number? I said, well, if he gets subbed out, we still got a chance at this to cash our bet here. Ends up getting subbed out. The guy that subs in for him ends up scoring a goal. We ended up cashing thanks to FanDuel's Super Sub. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/forward-progress to get started. Right now, must be 21 plus a president. Select states for Kansas affiliation, Kansas Casino, 18 plus a president, DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 100 my reset. Call 1-888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/John Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-375-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 1-877-770-7867 in Louisiana. All right. Let's bring on our first guest here. I know, Connor, we're not going to do a live Hammer Daily from the elbow room because I don't think Florida's going to win. Anyways, we'll get into that in just a second. We got our first guest, the lead edger of the group, director of content here at the Hammer Betting Network. Big Habs fan. Shout out to the Habs for breaking records this playoffs. Alex Moretto, how's it going? Oh, no. He's pulling the so money. I don't know if he's muted. I don't know if his it's on his end or our end. Oh, he's giving us he's giving us a finger, but not the middle one. He's giving us this finger right here. He's going to be on in just a second. When does Cole Caulfield ask? I don't know. I just don't like the precedent that it's setting. I don't like it. All right. It seems like Alex is good to go. Let's bring him on. Alex, how's it going? This better.
I missed so money, so I had to do that for him.
All right. Yes.
We're good now, though?
Yes. So money in our thoughts and in our prayers. He's fine. It's just like we're just thinking about it.
Yeah, he's great.
That's it.
Yeah. We'll get him on this week. Talk some CFL.
There we go. In honor of so money, the mutes. All right. Kind of buried the lead here. Brady Tkachuk. Trade for 3 first-round picks. I didn't give my opinion on the trade. Just sort of the situation surrounding the trade. Talk to me first. I don't know, where do you want to start? You want to start the opinions? You want to start with the Americans forcing their way out? There's a lot of angles we can attack this. I don't know where you want to start. Like you have a lot on your mind, a lot on your chest that you want to get off. So like Brady Tkachuk trade, just get it off your chest. Go.
I just hate it, man. Like I hate that legacy used to mean something in this league, and you used to tough it out and like you sign somewhere, you're the captain. Like I understand that guys have to move on at certain points in their career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get to a point where maybe your team's rebuilding or they're heading in a different direction. You want to try and win. Like, obviously that's all part of the game, but this is a Sens team that just completed a rebuild and has, like, as a Sens hater, I am confident in saying that, like, they have a very good roster and room to grow that roster to a contender. Like, they have an elite blue line, an elite number 1 defenseman, pretty deep on the back end, pretty young. They're very deep up front. You know, they need maybe another game breaker or something like that. Goaltending kind of sewered them. Like, this is a really good hockey team. They just come out of a rebuild. Brady, like, pledges his future to Ottawa multiple times, you know, tries to, like, kibosh the rumors and stuff like that. And it's very apparent that that was all bullshit all along. Mm-hmm. And this isn't like, I'm upset that another American wants out of the Canadian market. I don't care about that. I care about the fact that guys are just, like, not willing to try and win with their teams anymore. And, like, the second things get a little bit difficult, they just jump ship. Like, it's not even getting difficult in Ottawa. I don't really understand why he needs to just bail. Play with his brother to play in Florida, no state tax. Like, I don't know. It's all just bullshit to me. You are the captain of this team. You have, like, a lot of friends on this team, and you just, you go to the Olympics, you get in the group chat, your brother on a podcast tells you how nice it is to, like, take a golf cart to the rink, and you're like, yeah, I'm out. Like, that's all it takes. Like, how do you respect yourself if you're just going to go and bail? Like, and it's apparent that, like, he quit on this team clearly a while ago. This isn't just, like, something he decided in the summer. You know, the report from Renaud Lavoie came out that said his teammates didn't push to even keep him. So, like, when it was like, you know, he might get traded, no one really, like, pushed back against that. Clearly, this guy was checked out. Apparently, he stopped hanging out with the guys a lot after practice and stuff like that during the second half of the season, like post-Olympics. So his mind was gone. He didn't show up for them in the playoffs. He was, like, one of their worst forwards in the playoffs. He was a -4, giving the puck away like crazy, did not have a single point. I don't know, man. I just hate the direction that, you know, of this coming on the heels of, like, Larkin requesting a trade. Keep in mind, I'm getting shit on a lot on Twitter. Like, Larkin requested a trade from an American team. So people on my mentions can take note of that. Detroit is in America. That is not a Canadian city. This isn't a Canada-USA thing. This is just like clearly the people were talking among that USA team in their group chat, trying to recruit each other off of that team. And none of them are, like, clearly committed to where they're at right now. It's just like, let's turn this into the NBA. Let's make some super teams. Let's go where we want to play. Let's like force our team's hands. And I get that like GMs are partially to blame here because GMs kind of wanted to like, get some discounts on contracts, maybe like, get the annual average salary down a little bit. So they're handing out these no movement clauses. And now they're like maybe going to have some pause on that, especially if you're in like a smaller market. Maybe, hey, let's keep the flexibility. Forget this no movement clause. Let's pay a guy what he's worth. Let's give him an extra, $700K or $1 million per year so that we don't have to have this no movement clause. And now we can at least have flexibility if we get to a situation like this. Because I hate seeing players like, look, they're in their right to do it, right? You get a no movement clause, you're going to use it. You want to go where you want to go. Hey, whatever. You're the one that signed that contract. They gave you that contract. Technically, you are very much in your rights. But like, I just hate to see guys sign that and like with no reason just bail on their team. Like this is not a Sens team that was heading for the gutter. This is a Sens team that was very much entering a window of contention. This isn't like, Noah Hannafin, who was also a Team USA guy leaving Calgary. That's a Calgary team in a rebuild. He's, coming up on free agency. Like that stuff makes sense. This is a very different situation. And like, even Quinn Hughes, I'd have some grace for him, the way that team was heading to. But we just see a lot of guys on that Team USA, like JT Miller was another guy who like clearly a little bit of a loser. He was a big problem in Vancouver. He goes to New York. That New York team is now heading to, the shitter. Clearly he's like part of that problem there. We've seen it with a lot of guys. Matthew Tkachuk obviously forced his way out of Calgary too. I can't stand the way that we're heading right now. And I don't know if something's going to be done necessarily by the league. I don't know necessarily what can be done other than like a new CBA, which isn't going to be happening for a while. So I think it's got to be more like on GMs, just like being cognizant of the situation. Stop handing out these no movement clauses. At least give yourself flexibility. You know what? A guy Tkachuk wants out. He's like, yeah, I'm leaving Ottawa. I'm the captain. I signed here long term, this and that, but I don't want to be here anymore. I just changed my mind. You'd be like, all right, fuck you. We'll send you to Winnipeg. I don't care. I think that's the biggest thing that has to change here. GMs have to stop handing these no movement clauses out like candy. And once that happens, I think players are obviously going to be a lot more hesitant to just ask for trades and want out because they don't necessarily have a say on where they can go. They can't just give a list that says Vegas, Carolina, Florida, Tampa, like every other player has done it to this point. Yeah, no. And I think originally the Senators and the Tkachuk situation, I think what happened here is that at the start of last season, there was, I guess, feelers put out to say like, hey, are you going to re-sign with us or not? And I think Tkachuk said no. And I think this actually might help out the Senators a little bit here, getting in front of this instead of him walking free agency in 2 years. So if you're the Senators, I don't think you're too mad. But after the podcast comes out and the stuff we were hearing about how the Senators stopped hanging out with the Senators players, he seemed very checked out. Like that's the problem I have with how Brady Tkachuk handled this situation, and he is a coward for doing this because like at least have the stones to be honest. Like. You just make yourself look like a fool, like you said, when you come out in these interviews and say, hey, I'm not leaving the team. I'm here for the long haul. And then essentially, I don't want to say he forced his way out, yes. But like if you're Ottawa, just getting into the situation here, I think you're kind of happy with the return. With the Dylan Larkin stuff, I think it's a little bit more egregious because he's signed for 5 more years, right? Tkachuk only had 2 more years after this deal. And the writing was on the wall. He's not going to Larkin is wanting out 5 years into. You signed this contract like 3 years ago. Like you signed this. You more recently signed this contract than you are going to be finishing this contract. So for you to have the stones to ask out, and both Larkin and Tkachuk, both players who I think are not number ones on a team. They're not top 15 players in the world. They're like good quality second line players, I would say. They'd be top end second line players, but I don't think they're like elite first line players. The audacity and the gall to do that, to not even be like Dylan Larkin, you're not even the best player on your team and you want out. Dude, Larkin, like Yzerman has his warts, sure. He's not done the best job as a GM, but like this is a Wings team that has now cratered in the second half of the season in back-to-back years. Larkin is like the centerpiece of that. If you look at what he's done over the second half of the year, he has literally fallen off a cliff. Like this year, he had 1 5-on-5 goal after March 1st. One. He literally stopped producing for the team. If you want to go back even further, from January 1st on, he had January 1st on, he had 4 goals at 5-on-5. So the second half of the season, basically, he had 4 5-on-5 goals. He had 21 goals for the team in the first half of the season. Brother, you didn't make the playoffs. You're upset. You're hurt. I get it. But like, you are a massive reason why they didn't make the playoffs. You just have to play better. Mm-hmm. Stop tailing off in the second half of the season. Like, you have to point a finger at yourself at one point. Where is the accountability from these guys? That's what I can't stand. It's like, you can't just, oh man, I'm frustrated with the situation, I'm just gonna leave. Like, no, like, look inward a little bit here too. There's like, there's plenty of blame to go around, but like, he is far from blameless in this situation. So I can't stand the mentality. I'm not an NBA guy, so like, see the NHL very much trending in that direction is also extremely frustrating. And yeah, I mean, look, this group of like American players that were on Team USA for 2026, like, they are at the center of it all. It is what it is. It's not like this isn't some like anti-American thing. These are great, very talented hockey players, but clearly they've had like several discussions about this stuff, and that is where it gets very, very frustrating for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think also with the idea of forcing a trade, I personally, if I was a player, I know you want to get, maybe if you want to get out of a situation quicker, you just force a trade. But if you wait for free agency, you're not handcuffing the team you're going to. Like, think about Florida right now. They just traded 3 first-round picks to get Brady Tkachuk. If you go look at what Quinn Hughes was traded for, or other players who've been traded for more than 2 first-round picks, Brady Tkachuk might be one of the worst players to ever be traded for this much. And I'm not saying Brady Tkachuk is a bad player, but you're giving up a lot in these situations. And I think we might have jumped the shark here where, and I'm not saying out the gate this team is going to be bad, Florida's going to be bad, but I think maybe 1 or 2 years down the road, they might regret a move like this with them having to pay Brady Tkachuk down the road, have no one really coming up in the pipeline. Heck, even this year, they don't have a goalie signed on their roster right now. They have $8 million in cap space. They gave up a lot of assets to get Brady Tkachuk.
Force his way there.
Now, if that happens, then I will be pissed. But here's the thing: like, if he does force, how do you get Hellebuck? What do you?
No, cap wise, it's you have to do some crazy gymnastics to make that work. Obviously, like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe they'll. So there's a bunch of ways to look at it. Will they regret it in 2 years when they have to pay Brady? Maybe, but also like, those are going to be really late first round picks.
Wait.
These teams.
Hold on. One isn't. It's a 9th overall pick this year.
One isn't. Yes.
One is an early pick, and the other one is top 10 protected. It's a 9th, a 25th, a top 10 protected pick, which could slide to, like, if shit hits the fan for them. If they go through a similar thing that happened this year. Sorry, go ahead.
That 4th year, if it gets, saying if it gets pushed back, if that top 10 thing gets pushed back and then it's unprotected the year after, it could end up being a very high pick, because at that point they're maybe like kind of falling off, right?
Yeah.
The wheels have fallen off but like, if you're winning a cup in that time, who cares? Like, what's the price for a cup?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, fair.
And they are now like a rested team after last year. Barkov didn't play at all, right? Well, obviously, like, the wear and tear kind of caught up to them. They're very much what?
No, I see the same thing about Tanev and the Leafs. You're like, well, get his body hold up. Matthew Tkachuk has had tons of injuries.
Had injury history, right? Yes, Matthew Tkachuk for sure, totally, 100%. Barkov is like, he had a knee injury, and he's not like 37 years old like Tanev. It's a little bit of a different situation here. But regardless, these guys didn't play much last year. They're going to be rested. They're like, dude, like, I know we were talking about this a little yesterday, but like, and you're like, I don't know, man, Brady's not that good. Like, he's a second line player. Sure, but he's going to actually get to play second line minutes now. True. And like sheltered minutes on a team where he's not going to have the toughest matchups. And then he's also got like behind him Lundell, Luosterainen, and Marchand on the third line. Like, it's just, they're loaded up front. Like, regardless of like how we feel about it, this is a loaded Panthers team. And I bet some 11-1 cup yesterday. How could you not?
No, I think you're right there. The only, I think I just push back on this Brady stuff because it's just like, what have we seen him do in the playoffs other than just take really bad penalties? And he has like this Florida team loves to ride the line. Like, they love it. And like, Brady's not the guy who can do that. He is very, very bad at doing that. He always crosses the line, and he will always put his team in bad situations because of it. So that's why I feel like
was like that too, though.
Fair.
Florida changed them. Like, Maurice changed them. I don't know, or if it's maybe like
something in the water.
I don't like to buy into the narrative that, like, I know a lot of Toronto people are like, Florida gets the benefit of the doubt all the time, but like, maybe there is an element to that too. So like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, It's upsetting. Like, as you know, both of us Atlantic fans of Atlantic Division teams that are not Florida, the path to contention just got that much harder again. And we knew it was going to be hard. We knew Florida was going to be back to this extent. I mean, I didn't necessarily expect it to this extent. It almost gives you pause as to like what you want to do and how you want to approach this upcoming season. For me as a Habs fan, I'm like, you know, if we can't take a big swing for a second line center right now, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe you wait till Hage comes in the league and maybe you take your swing next year or something like that. You don't have to necessarily rush that all of a sudden because, yeah, the pathway to beating Florida and, you know, Tampa, I mean, Friedman talking about it today, like sounds like Tampa's going to go get John Carlson. Probably why they had no issue letting Raddysh go, right? Like they didn't want to budge over that like 5.75 mark, it seems like, which, you know, I don't know if you want to talk Raddysh, but like that's a good move for the Leafs. That's what they need. But it's also like does that not give you pause that like an organization as good as Tampa saw him firsthand all of last year and is like, we're good here?
Yeah, yes and no. I think the decision for Tampa was let's get Carlson instead, who kind of like we can get Raddysh but cheaper in Carlson, who's older, but they trust their development staff to come through and not have to sign these long-term deals because they have, I don't know who they have in their pipeline, but they've shown time and time again that they can develop players very, very well. So I'm not as worried as losing a player and using Carlson as a stopgap to get someone else up who's sort of next in line over the next couple of years. That's where I think Tampa Bay was coming from.
So I'll pose you another question then off that point. Does it worry you that, yes, Tampa is extremely good at developing these players, but is it partly development and partly like these guys can flourish in that system? And does that give you a little, because like, look at how some of these guys have done once they've left. Like you look at Yanni Gourde, you look at like, you know, like some of these guys that like they've kind of brought up have gone on and like not necessarily been the same player once Tampa's kind of cut bait and been like, okay, we're good to move on here, you know?
One player that I think about is Sergachev, who like I was sort of down on with Tampa Bay, and I like that they moved off him, but he was still able to be the player that he needed to be in Utah and like scoring points. Like sometimes teams just need guys who are going to score for you. The Leafs have had an issue the last 10 years of getting a defenseman who can score for them. And I'm sorry, Morgan Rielly just isn't it. And comparing Darren Raddysh to Morgan Rielly is just completely different. Like Darren Raddysh can shoot. Being a shot threat on the power play, having a good, let's take a step back. Having a good power play is very important in the playoffs. The Leafs haven't had that. Part of the reason why the power play has struggled is because the point was the issue. Morgan Rielly's not like a great passer. He can't ride the line well. He can't shoot well. Darren Raddysh does all those things well. And like a running quarterback in the NFL, Darren Raddysh is going to start attracting teams to start forcing them to start playing higher and to start respecting the point of the Toronto Maple Leafs power play. And that's just going to open things up for everyone else on the power play. That's why I like the deal. I think the power play is super, 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 super important here, especially if the Leafs want to go on a run.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I think that it makes sense for Tampa to move on. I don't think that's necessarily what they need to do right now in their cycle is pay a guy like Raddysh. And whereas the Leafs, like, just, I mean, you are so desperate if you want to try and win for a defenseman right now that you kind of have to just take a flyer and hope it pans out.
100%. And the Leafs seem like they're active. I like massive 32 thoughts just dropped earlier today. Tons of stuff. One, Nyes being a coin flip to be moved. And in the same vein, Friedman mentions that if Nyes is moved, it's a no-brainer move for the Leafs, where like they're getting like a massive piece back. I'm hearing like I'm not hearing it, but people have been saying Werenski's name is out there, Adam Fox's name is out there, Kyrou, Robert Thomas, Binnington, heck, even Bobrovsky and Hellebuck have been linked to the Leafs here. So it seems like this Leafs team is active. They want to compete now with Matthews. My question here is, do you think it's smart for the Leafs to take this goalie route where they look at Hellebuck, Bobrovsky, and Binnington? And then also, in the same vein, sticking in the division, Florida doesn't have a goalie signed. What's their solution for goalies? Is it bring Bobrovsky back? The free agents right now I'm seeing are Stuart Skinner, Sergei Bobrovsky, obviously, Connor Ingram, Frederick Anderson, Cam Talbot, David Rittich, Daniil Tarasov, Eric Comrie, Vitek Vanecek. There's not a lot of great names here. And this Florida team could be in a pickle by simply not having a goalie. Yes, you upgrade, of course, in your top six, but if you don't have a goalie, like can this Florida team really go on a run? We saw the Hurricanes do it, but I don't know. I guess my question here is like, where do the Panthers go with the goalie situation? And do you think the Leafs should be sniffing around here and trying to compete with Matthews?
So, okay.
Two different
I'll
questions.
start with the Florida part of that question. Florida is not in as bad of a situation right now as it maybe seems cap-wise. Like, Hellebuck would be very tough to make work, but they have like a little over $7 million in cap space. They have with 13 forwards signed and 6 defensemen signed. Obviously, no goalies. Bobrovsky's ask, which someone confirmed to me, someone who I think would have knowledge of the situation, that like 6-year whatever, I can't remember the exact, I can find it, but that ask that's like being reported out there is like very much 100% correct. So that's what he wants. Does that make sense for Florida? Not necessarily. They'll have a little over 7 million with 2 goalies and maybe a D-man to sign. I guess you can kind of bring someone up from thing too, but I would think logically you move off Evan Rodriguez and then you're now at like a little over 10 million in cap space. I think they don't necessarily have a need for Rodriguez at this point. You're not going to pay him $3 million to play on your 4th line. I think that's kind of the most logical situation. Just someone help them out and take that contract. It's not a bad contract. He only has 1 year left anyway, so I don't think it would cost them much to offload him. Could even offload like Boqvist to free up like 1.5. But I look at like Binnington there, maybe. Joel Hofer is clearly the guy in St. Louis. I think Binnington's like, it's time to move on there. Does he make sense for this team? Like, obviously he's got a bit of a contract, but like he would not cost much considering, you know, it would be a situation where St. Louis kind of just wants to get off of that deal. So like, that's kind of where I'm looking for Florida, maybe, because free agent route, like, I don't know, like, do you want to trust a guy like Stuart Skinner? It's hard to go with this roster. But it seems like they're clearly not looking to pay Bob what he wants. And like, I don't blame them. We've seen goalies of his age, like he's 37 years old. He had a terrible season last year. Like Tarasov was clearly the better of the 2 goalies. Bob looked rough. This is typically the time in a goalie's career at 37. He's going to be 38 when the season starts next year. Like this is the time where like you see the bottom really fall out. Like we saw with Brodeur. Lundqvist retired at this point because that was coming and he had kind of tailed off a little bit. Price was already done before this point. You know, Luongo was getting rough at this stage. So like, I don't think it's a gamble worth taking. I don't get it from a Leafs perspective. I don't know. Maybe you can shed some light on that too, but they just solved their 3 goalie issue. You know, don't want to lose a guy to waivers. They just solved that issue by trading Wall. Why bring someone else in now? And especially a guy like Bob, where like, it feels like to me, the risk far outweighs the reward.
Yeah, especially if he's asking for that term and that amount. It's 6 years, and I think it's $7 million per year, which is insane. Plus, he's 37, so it's a 35+ contract. You can't bury that. You can't like look in the future and just say he'll make 7 in
40,
he's going to be 40, and you can't just be like, all right, let's just bury him and just eat the extra 4 mil cap hit or buy. It's like impossible to cap maneuver your way out of a deal on a 35+ deal. They've made it that way specifically so teams don't do that. So very dangerous. Obviously at that price, no. And also people are saying we solved our issue. We didn't really solve our issue unless we just don't sign Arison, which is likely. But then you're going into a season with Anthony Stolarz, who has never played a full season in his career, has always been hurt, and Dennis Hildeby, who, listen, like obviously Artur Akhtemov it was great for the Marlies, and I understand the Marlies, the AHL is the whole purpose of it is to develop players, but you just had a guy lose a job in the AHL and you expect him to be your backup goalie. That's pretty insane to me. And I understand people like him, but how do you expect a guy who lost an AHL job to be playing 30-ish games for you in the NHL?
Yes.
That's a different situation though, but yeah. Anyways.
I also think that like using their space and using any sort of like roster flexibility they have right now on another goalie is crazy. We just saw Carter Hart and Brendan Bussey in the Cup final. I mean, you can get there with
that's
that.
Where the edge is.
Stolarz is capable.
Yep.
That's
where the edge is. It's like not overpaying goalies.
Yes, you can get there. Like, look, Jakub Dobeš was like was the best goalie in the playoffs. He was struggling a lot early on in the regular season. Like, you can get there with these guys. Yeah, sure, having an elite goalie is nice, but like having an elite goalie who you're paying elite dollars to is not necessarily how you win in this league anymore. I think we've seen the blueprint for that now. So it doesn't really make sense in terms of. I know we got to get out of here quickly, but in terms of the Leafs competing, it's a double-edged sword because going into a tank, or a rebuild, so to speak, is like maybe the most logical thing. But then you're also like committing to like, okay, we got to trade Matthews at that point. We got to probably trade Nylander and then start to build and use those pieces to build around McKenna. And like, that's like the next usher that next era in. I think that is the smartest path to go, because I don't think there's necessarily a pathway to them being nearly as good as Tampa, Florida, or even like a team like Montreal. In the next like couple of years, just based on like how many pieces they sort of need to fill out that back end and maybe their depth. Like, it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just think it's a very like, everything has to hit. Like, basically every move you make has to hit in order for you to get to that point. It's doable, but it's like, it's very hard. So that's what gives me pause. But the reason, like, I think they have to just do what they're doing right now and try and compete is because you don't have those 2 first-round picks coming up, and they are unprotected first-round picks. And like, you don't want to be handing Boston. You don't want to go into a rebuild right now and hand Boston or Philly like top 10 picks. I think that's why they've kind of painted themselves into a corner.
Yeah, we've done it before with Tyler Seguin. We cannot do that again. Just organizationally, I don't think that's a situation we want to go. And I will say what you want about this Leafs D. You might think they're bad. They do have the stench of a bad system and just bad system play on them over the last 2 years, which with the right coach could get rubbed off pretty quickly. And I think the Leafs team can turn things around, especially on their back end. Like, they've had players who've been good before, but just couldn't succeed here over the last 2 years. And that might be a system related issue. Anyways, Alex, appreciate you joining the show. I know I got to get you out of here. Any final thoughts on any rumors or maybe any draft opinions you have with the draft coming up on Friday?
Only draft one right now on FanDuel. Stenberg's going second overall. Don't buy the Chase Reed hype. That's the only other really option at 2. It's going to be Stenberg. So -130, I think right now. I think that, I mean, look, hey, I've been wrong about draft stuff before, obviously, but I think that closes. I think that closes like in the thousands by the time we get to, the hour leading up to the draft. That's going to be like pretty much set in stone.
Yeah, small limits right now, but I think I agree with you, and I have some other stuff as well that are correlated. So obviously play this with caution if you're going to take Alex's Stenberg. I'll mention it later on the show. If you're also going to play my draft stuff as well, play it with caution because they are correlated. Alex, appreciate you joining the show. We'll chat soon.
Yeah, see you, Jason.
Great stuff there from Alex. Actually, before he heads out, I just need a nod in the background. Are you going to be on the watch along this Wednesday or no? He's a maybe.
We'll see if Rob and George are there. Might be too many cooks in the kitchen.
All right, we'll see if Rob and George are there. And speaking of our watch along, if you missed the Wednesday and Friday watch along, we had a ton of fun. We swept the board on Wednesday, reverse swept the board on Friday. Yes, I don't think we won a single bet on Friday, and we won every single bet on Wednesday. Pretty crazy stuff here. We'll see what we can do. This upcoming Wednesday, 2:50 p.m. Eastern time, will be going live. Games start at 3. It's a double watch along. Main screen, Canada, Switzerland. Side screen, Bosnia, Qatar. We'll be sweating both games. We'll be sweating all the action live with myself, with Rob, and potentially with George or Alex. We're unsure who's going to be there, but regardless of who's going to be there, we're going to have a ton of fun. I'm not going to guarantee us winning bets. I will guarantee us having fun, though. So if you're in for that, be sure you're there live Wednesday, 2:50 p.m. Eastern time here on the channel. We're going live through 10 minutes, before the 3 p.m. slate of the World Cup. You're not going to want to miss this. It's tons of damn fun right here on the Hammer HQ YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button if it's your first time here. Ring the notification bell if you don't want to miss out whenever we go live. And let's get into our next guest. Had a lot of talk about essentially Leafs radio towards the end here. And our next guest is someone who has experienced similar things to me. Guy who loves sports, but his favorite team just can't ever seem to win, like my Toronto Maple Leafs. You've seen him on the show here before at Touches in the Box. Gaffa, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on here. I sent you a list of questions, so let's just dive right into things. We are 3/4 of the way through match day 2, and I think one of the biggest stories is the host nation, U.S., clinching, even though Pulisic did miss last game. I assume he missed the last game to rest. He'll probably miss the next game as well. But how seriously should these top-end teams be taking this U.S. squad? And like, how does their path look right now for the round of 32?
Yeah, I think definitely need to take them seriously. I mean, they're a good team with players that are now applying their trade over in Europe for the most part. There's lots of quality, and they have a very good manager in
Mm.
Pochettino. They also have, host nation crowd support, which is a big factor. They have a pretty favorable logistics setup. And I think the question is, in terms of how seriously should top teams take them, there's also kind of the flip side of that, which is when will they face a top team, right? Because they have a pretty favorable path here, and it might not really be until a potential quarterfinal matchup that they are up against one of the top nations in the world. So things can change here as the group stage finishes up and we sort of figure out what these third place permutations look like. But as of right now, I mean, if you look at their most likely path, it's going to be quarterfinals, at which point that they would probably get to playing a top team. So I think take them seriously. But, as far as sort of tempering expectations a little bit, we do have to recognize the teams that they're playing at the moment, and stepping up to play something like a France or Spain or one of those sorts of teams is a totally different test altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to wonder if the style that the USA plays is it seems like the style they play is beneficial to win against teams of lower quality, but maybe against teams that are better than them. They might lose that sort of offensive pressure battle if they do end up facing a strong team like the France, Spain's, England's of the world. USA right now plus 110 to reach the quarterfinals, which is just very eye-opening if you were to tell me that at the beginning of the tournament. Next one I want to get into is Japan and Tunisia. We saw Japan win 4-0. They have they have a stronghold on the top two of their group. They're almost guaranteed to finish first or second here. Almost 99% to make it into the round of 32. Are you shocked at how good this Japan team looks? And are you shocked by some of these Asian nations sort of getting a little bit of a bump here in the tournament, sort of overplaying expectations?
I wouldn't say surprised. I mean, Japan came into the tournament as one of those public dark horses, if you will. And so I think there was expectation around this side and, the potential upside they bring into this. They're a very settled team. The manager's been there a long time. Another side with, vast majority of the team playing in pretty good clubs in Europe, and they have some real individual quality there as well. Pretty good record on paper. I think the question mark for me with Japan was how could they step up against really like the top opponents, which they haven't played too many of, especially in competitive fixtures over the last 4 years or so. But so far so good. I think they represented themselves pretty well against the Netherlands in particular in that first match. That was one of the better matches of the tournament so far. I think really this group between the Dutch and Japan, you have two teams that have the capability of making a run. I think what kept me from investing in either pre-tournament really is the fact that this is one of those groups where the first and second places are kind of set in terms of the matchups you get. Like you're not questioning what third place team one of them will get. And so first place in this group plays the second place of Group C, and second place in this group plays the first place in Group C. And Group C, of course, has Brazil and Morocco, which I think really puts you in a potentially difficult spot right away in the round of 32. And then, once you get to the round of 16, you can more or less expect a difficult game anyways. So wasn't super high on them for that reason, but they're a good side, and Japan could absolutely make a run. I think if they continue to play the way they have, and we'll see. I think some of in particular Brazil haven't looked that great so far, so I think they're beatable, and we'll just kind of see how the matchups shake out. They do have to beat Sweden first, so we'll see how that goes.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to mention that we'll get a lot of more information about the type of team Japan is and the type of team that Sweden is, but just doing like the transitive properties, which is awful, obviously. Japan tying Netherlands, and then Netherlands absolutely smoking Sweden, has you questioning Sweden a little bit here, especially with the way that Sweden beat Tunisia and Japan beating Tunisia as well. So maybe we'll get a lot more information out of that, but it's ironic that Japan could win, finish second or first, and it could be Netherlands, Japan 1-2, and then Sweden sitting in third, and they're like, wow, we might actually get a better draw than if we finish first or second here.
Yeah, that's I guess the beauty and the chaos, and in some part like the frustration around trying to get too far ahead with how you're thinking about the futures and the way this stuff plays out, because it is kind of a bizarre situation. This isn't the only group where that's the case, where you may actually be better off finishing third than finishing second, for example, potentially even first in this case, to your point. So we'll see. It's too early to say, and I think there's some third place pathways that look a little bit more set on paper, but I think there's still so much that can happen between now and the end of the group stage. Like we've seen plenty of upsets already, and I doubt that there wouldn't be a few more. So
yeah, listen, we saw Cabo Verde. Like people were wondering if they'd get a single point, score a single goal in this tournament, and they've been able to steal 2 points from 2 quality teams, like in the world here, which is pretty insane. You almost cannot speak to any certainty until it comes to the round of 32, until it actually happens. When you talk futures here, one team I want to mention. We talked Group F. Let's talk to the group that they're sort of connected to in Group C. Brazil beat Haiti 3-0, and we're still seeing Ancelotti under a bit of scrutiny here. Have they like sort of listen? Are they promoting themselves into a, when I say, I'm going to say real contender here. When I say real contender tier, I mean like a top 4 team with the likes of England, with the likes of Argentina, with the likes of France and Spain? Or are you still having question marks around this Brazil side with how their offense has struggled against sort of higher quality teams?
Yeah, I think more in the latter camp there, where I certainly wouldn't put them in that elite bracket in like that top 4, as you said there. The squad that they brought in there's certainly some very good players in it, but overall it's kind of a far cry in some positional groups from Brazil sides of the past. And Ancelotti is a very capable tournament manager. He's also a manager who has had repeated success when his teams haven't necessarily always impressed. So that might be one thing to look out for. Like Ancelotti teams don't always play the best sort of attacking football or the best, visually like appealing style of play, but somehow they make their way through. And I think that's part of the magic that he can bring. But yeah, they've definitely not impressed me so far. I wouldn't get carried away at all with a 3-0 win against Haiti, who are definitely one of the weakest teams in the tournament and just defensively can be had. I think that first game against Morocco is a little bit more of the kind of measure for Brazil at the moment. And I thought for the most part, they were second best in that. I think obviously bringing Cunha in up top paid off pretty quickly. Igor Thiago had a really bad initial game. I'd be surprised if he had many more minutes in this tournament. But yeah, it's just, I think they're in that second category of teams, and because of the manager and because of some of the individual brilliance of the players and, having players like Vinicius in the side who can win matches on their own, I think they're still dangerous. But again, between the overall quality of the side, just the sort of the fact that they haven't really convinced on the eye test, and then again, they're in that Group C where you have the difficult round of 32. It's just kind of a tough team to really buy into at the moment.
Yeah. Let's flip over and talk Group G a little bit with, Egypt pulling out a great win there. Mo Salah, the hero for Egypt, scoring a goal there, finally showing up in the tournament. They're sitting on 4 points right now atop of Group G. Belgium with 1 game left. Drawing twice is just insane what we're seeing from this Belgian team. Every year after year after year, it's been like 4 World Cups now where Belgium is a squad to be afraid of. Belgium is the team to be afraid of, but it's just like they just never do it. What is the issue with the Belgian team over the past 4 World Cups where they just can't seem to put everything together despite having good players? They just seem to. They have good players on the pitch. They just can't seem to put it all together. What's been the issue for Belgium? Is it a managerial thing? Is it a tactical thing? Is it the way that they develop their youth system? There's no cohesion on the way up. Like what's the issue here with Belgium, and why can they never succeed on the world stage? It feels like.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think many Belgian supporters have been asking the same thing for a while now. I would say in this tournament specifically, it's probably down a little bit more to the squad, and this is kind of that
aging out,
the last hurrah for that, for that golden generation. This is not the same sort of profile of team from individual talent and just where the players are at in their careers as maybe World Cups of 4 or 8 years ago, where it was truly, I think, a golden generation, and a lot of those players in their relative primes. I think some of the newer players that have stepped up, while decent players, they're just not of that same caliber and overall talent level that Belgium brought to previous tournaments. So I'd say right now it's probably a little bit more of a squad thing. I think in the past, what really sort of screwed them over was the managerial decisions. The Belgian FA persisted with Mark Wilmots for a while, who had a pretty terrible run with them, and then Roberto Martinez, who I think is more associated with kind of letting that golden generation down a little bit. So I think in the past, maybe a little bit more management type decisions, coaching. Right now, I think it's just, this is a side that coming into the tournament was by far the weakest pot one team for me. I kind of looking at, assuming that they had won this group, I was very prepared to just fade whoever was coming out of this group in first place. And so wasn't really high on Belgium long term anyway, but nonetheless, this group was so favorable for them that you would really have expected far more than what they've produced so far. And I mean, I think, there's also the dynamic here where yesterday, of course, there was the red card, which influenced things. I mean, they were sort of, knocking at the door, let's say, and I think there's a decent chance they would have won that game without going down to 10 men. And they still, a point for them in that was not a disastrous outcome. I mean, I think they would prefer to win the group, of course, but holding on to a point there and then facing New Zealand on the final day on 2 points is, you can say it's like sensible from a tournament perspective, versus like forcing something with 10 men against Iran and then potentially, going down a goal on the counter or something like that. So I don't think it's maybe quite as bad as it's being made out to be, but you can just kind of see like the upside I don't think is there for this team. And there's too many question marks, particularly at the back, for them to make a deep run in this tournament. So it's a shame. I think you get these golden generations sometimes that just don't quite really produce anything. And this might be the case with Belgium.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Athletic World Cup tracker here. Belgium 90. Disappointing group stage for them, but still 90% to make it to the round of 32. It's almost like they're locked in here. One team that is among the quality of the world, but might be one of the surprising misses of the round of 32 is this Uruguay squad with a 36% chance to make it out of the round of 32, but a 49% chance to be third and be eliminated, which could be pretty insane. They have a rough draw they didn't take advantage of their first two matches here, drawing twice. They have a rough go in playing Spain. The question is Spain going to bully them, go full out, try and eliminate them here? Does Spain rest their starters and their most important players in Yamal and Williams? How do you think this Group H has the potential to shake out here?
Yes, Uruguay are in genuine danger here. I mean, just from the fact that they're on 2 points and they play Spain here. And I think Spain had always sort of targeted this game as the one where they were going to give more of a full complement of minutes to the starters and really kind of ramp up some of the players coming back from injury. For example, Yamal, to like a real, knockout style level of opponent and full, 60 plus minutes, let's say. I don't know if they'll necessarily do that, with how things have played out here, but I would imagine they're getting a full Spain 11 here. And it's not to say that Uruguay are like drawing dead here, right? Like they're a decent team, and on their day they can cause Spain some problems. It's also going to be a very different opponent in terms of, they've been asked to really dictate the play and control the ball here across the first two matches against Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde. Playing Spain is the total opposite. They're not going to see much of the ball. That may end up, playing in their favor. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, they're in trouble here. A point against Spain on as like a one-off result is very good, but even there you're going to potentially run into problems advancing as a third place team. So very much tournament lives in the balance here. I think they really need to pick up a win, of course, to be safe. And I don't know how likely that is against Spain. So yeah, trouble for Uruguay. And I think a lot of it just self-imposed. They really should have won at least one of those two prior games. So
yeah, match day 3 shaping up to be absolute chaos, and with us getting, I believe it is 8 games in a single day, it's going to be a ton of fun. You better be having 2 screens on at once if you're going to be consuming World Cup over match day 3. Before we move on to the games for today, we have four matches today. Any takeaways from match day 2 so far, whether it be a team that's sort of like completely exceeded expectations or a team that you were watching closely on match day 2 saying, Ooh, they interest me a little bit match day one, but let's see if that was just an opponent thing where in the next match they might struggle, or is there someone who's just impressed over the last 2 match days?
Over both of them, or just in the most recent match?
I guess in the most recent one, where you like were able to extract information from. You're just looking at something that you extracted information from.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, the U.S. performance was pretty solid. I think another kind of low block sort of team, but doing, I'd say a pretty professional performance against Australia without Pulisic. I think that's very encouraging for them. Germany and Ivory Coast, I thought, was an interesting matchup, and I think Germany look a little bit susceptible at times there. They won the match in the end with that late goal from Undav, but just before that, 5-10 minutes earlier, they really, I think it was Simon Adingra for the Ivory Coast, who was in a great position, 10 yards out from goal, tried to take an extra touch, didn't even get a shot off, but that really should have been a goal, and you kind of could be looking at a 2-1 scoreline the other way in that case. So I thought that was a really interesting matchup between two very good teams. Netherlands, of course, very impressive. And apart from that, I think just seeing Spain get back on form against, I think I was against them in their opening matchup, just with the lineup they played. It was too negative, but having Yamal back yesterday and just a little bit more creativity in the side, they looked like a totally different team. And I think kind of confidence reinstilled there, ready to make a run. So maybe those are the ones that jump out initially.
All right. Like you said there with the Spain team, like sort of building towards the round of 32, building towards that final group stage match where it's like press Yamal, get Yamal in to play limited minutes in match number 2, and then match number 3, ramp him up like he's ready to go in a full knockout game. Let's get into the 4 games today quickly here. Just want your opinion on these. Argentina versus Austria is the first one here. Any opinion you have on this game? Is Austria live as a dog to maybe steal a draw off this strong Argentina side, or is it Argentina full go for you here?
Yeah, this one kicks off in 5-10 minutes here. I took a little bit of Austria first half just to win or draw, close to evens. I just feel like on both teams on 3 points here, this could be a little bit more of a tighter start. Austria are a very good team. They come into this tournament without one of their very best players in Christoph Baumgartner, so it kind of hampers their attacking output here a little bit, but they have a pretty strong setup in the spine today. Argentina looked really good against Algeria, but Algeria are a side that can be had defensively, just not their best attribute. And then I just think Austria will test them a little bit more and provide a little bit more resistance. And then again, both teams are in a good place heading into this match. This is a match with enormous implications as far as the group stage goes, which I think makes it potentially a little bit tighter as well, and just maybe a cagier start. I could be off there. I think, Argentina can blow away any sort of like middling team on their day, but finishing first here, you get the second place side in Group J, which right now looks like it'll be Cape Verde or Saudi Arabia, whereas second place in this group is going to play Spain, assuming they win Group J. So this is a very significant match as far as how the tournament shakes out. And I think on their day, Austria are capable of hanging around here and being competitive. And likewise, if Messi is up for it, he can win matches individually, and Argentina have a very strong record against sort of like that mid-caliber sort of side over the last 4 years. So, like I said, I think maybe you get a little bit of a slower start here, and Austria just being a bit more competitive and more fight than Algeria provided early on. But I think this will be an interesting game, and again, just a fascinating one from the tournament implications.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to see, like you said, it's not a must-win here for Argentina, but it is pretty important here for Argentina to win, just to avoid the potential facing of Spain. Let's move over to the next game we have on the docket here. It's France versus Iraq. Not much. I don't think there's much you can take away from a France game where they're favored at minus 1,100 here. So, are you looking for anything in particular from this team? We had Anthony DeBundo on talk about how Dembele, Doué, and Mbappe all play sort of similar games, run and gun style, and they're lacking sort of connective tissue in the midfield. It seems like they haven't been able to Rabiot and Tchouameni, probably pronouncing that wrong, apologies, have been unable to promote the ball into midfield. So Olise has sort of been the connective tissue that they've been looking for. Is that what you're looking for from this France side?
Yeah, I mean, you got the pronunciations right, so fair play. Yeah, I mean, there was a market difference in that second half that France played against Senegal when they put Elise in more of that number 10 position, that central attacking midfielder, and just let him dictate the game. He was brilliant. He's coming off an amazing season at Bayern Munich, just really quality player. So I would imagine Deschamps probably persists with that here, and we get Elise in that 10 from the beginning. Wouldn't be totally surprised if they shook up a couple things here. I think the fullback choices in the last game with Theo Hernandez and Jules Koundé, that's pretty conservative. And I think in a game against Iraq, you can probably play a little bit more attacking intent there out wide as well, which will kind of help from a creative standpoint. The fact, though, is like France just the talent they have on any given day, like, they could beat Iraq by 6, 7, 8 goals, like if they were really at it. But there's kind of a long history with France over the last several years where they don't really blow these teams away very often. And so it's a really difficult game to call, because just from a talent perspective, and if they're up for it, and maybe, the fact that they did start so slow in the last game, they'll be kind of conscious of avoiding that. This could be one where France wins by many goals, but the data doesn't really support that. And Iraq are a side that's led by a manager who has some experience in these types of tournaments and will set them up to be compact. And maybe the fact that they conceded several goals against Norway on the opening day, just kind of a little bit extra effort on the setting up compactly here and the defensive structure going into this game. So it's a really tough one to call. I don't have too much of a lean here. I thought one play that was interesting is you can get France to be leading at halftime and under 4.5 goals in the match at plus 100. I think that might be a decent way into it, as far as like trying to find a way to get with France, who are, overwhelming favorites here. If you do take the approach that they don't want to start slow again because the first half against Senegal was so miserable, but that they aren't necessarily just going to blow this team away and push for goals for 90 minutes straight when they have a big game against Norway next that could potentially decide the group, and that it's a long tournament. This is a tournament experienced team who maybe know that they don't need to put everything into a match with Iraq. I think that could be one way in here, is a decent price.
All right. Last two matches to get through quickly here, just because we have a show going live at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Do you have any opinion on the Norway and Senegal match, or Jordan Algeria? Any plays you like here?
Norway Senegal is probably one where I'm going to wait and see what the lineups look like. I think Senegal are probably going to look a little bit different than in their opening match, but it's just one where I kind of want to wait and see how things go. And then, I think right now it maybe be leaning a little bit towards Senegal, just at the prices, but it's nothing confident, and I'll probably have more of an opinion there once the starting 11s come out. With Jordan Algeria, I think this one could be a pretty fun matchup here late on in the evening. This is one where obviously both teams are coming in on 0 points, and so a result here is imperative. Jordan still have to play Argentina, of course, so really I can't see any world where they don't go for this, whether, especially if they go down a goal here. And Algeria are favorites for the match. I think they're -1 on the Asian handicap at the moment. Algeria are a side with plenty of attacking quality. They didn't really get to show that against as elite a team as Argentina, but I think this could be one where there's some goals. It's another one where I'll probably wait and see what the starting 11s look like, but I think there could be goals here. So something like both teams to score, maybe over 2.5, maybe an Algeria team total. It's an important match for both, and they can't really afford to lose. So there's the chance for caginess, but I think these two teams just kind of profile to me more as like you trust the attacks more than the defense. So.
Yeah, and maybe this is like a recency bias, but it feels like these teams that are sort of dubbed as the 4th best team in their groups have just been willing to just let stuff fly and just sort of play tighter, but also just attack when they have their chances and try and capitalize when they do so. Gaffa, appreciate you joining the show here. Apologize for rushing you out. Thank you so much for coming on. Go follow him on Twitter at @touchinthebox. Gaffa, thanks for joining the show. We'll chat soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoy the matches.
Appreciate it. Great stuff there from Gaffa as always. And before we head out here, let's quickly pull up the picks for today. They just tweeted out on the Hammer HQ YouTube channel. We have a bunch of picks in the Argentina-Austria match. That's my fault. I didn't realize that. I have the over 1.5 at -350. Argentina-Austria under 3.5 cards from Alex Moretto, which I think the under talked about it on the watch long. I don't know if these guys. I think these guys have the cards market a little bit wrong here. TA also has Argentina-Austria first half over 1.5 plus 194. And then Kanish has Argentina, Austria to draw at plus 340. This guy is such a loser, taking the draw every match. Could you be more square than just tailing that guy on Twitter who is betting a draw in every single match? Come on, Kanish. Outside of that, Drungoon has France at over 7.5 corners, minus 105. Rob has Norway over 4.5 corners, minus 132. GSAC George looking to get a little bit of that magic again. Senegal plus a half at minus 160. And then Jacob has Jordan and Algeria, both teams to score at plus 102. Before I head out here, match is about to start, Argentina, Austria. If you're watching right now, I took Enzo Fernandez plus 370, Michael Gregorich plus 450, and Paul Vonner at plus 1,000, all to score a goal in the Argentina and Austria match. So if you want to ride with me, feel free to do so. I took those guys. Gregorich is my favorite of the three. Just moved to plus 470. Go scoop that up because he's most likely to get sub for Arnautovic, who I think can score and is a pretty good super sub who I'm not afraid of. The guy subbing in, he'll score. Anyways, match just started. Go get those if you can. Plus 350, plus 430, plus 1,000. That's what I'll grade it as for myself here. Anyways, appreciate you guys tuning in. Do us a favor, smash the like button. Goes a long way here on the channel. The new channels will hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on audio form, make sure you rate and review 5 stars. Drop a comment if you're on Spotify because we will start reading out the comments. And if you're on Apple, review us and we will read out your reviews as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Shout out to Joseph Myers, Chosen Sports, Matt Check, Connor Hardle, Tom Kahn, Charles Saul, anyone else I missed. I appreciate you guys in the chat. Do us a favor, smash the like button, subscribe. And right after this, go tune into Circle Back Live on the Circles Off YouTube channel with myself, with Jeff, with Rob, and with Jacob. That's it. That wraps up today's show. This has been the Monday, June 22nd edition of the Hammer Daily here on the Hammer Bang Network, presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. We will see you guys right here tomorrow.